65 years old, and my son has the audacity to say that I'm old and I don't know what I'm talking about, simply because I don't want to hand over the family farmhouse to him, because number one, he's irresponsible, number two, he's horrible with money, and number three, he's a jerk. Let me break this down to you slowly, because this story is crazy.
I'm not sure if it's appropriate for me to write my feelings and emotions here, but I'm a 65-year-old woman who has no one except for 2 children, one of whom decided that he hates my guts and never wants anything to do with me again. I've been attached to my husband all my life, as I should be, of course, right? But it was in a way that left me feeling hollow after his death. I was always really close to him and shared all my thoughts and emotions with him, especially when I was having a hard time. It's been more than a year since he passed away, but I still haven't found the same comfort in someone or something else like I did with him. He was my safe space, and if he were alive, I would not be going through so much in the first place, let alone having to handle it all on my own. You see, even though I have 2 children, 1 son, 1 daughter, I can't express what I'm feeling to them because they're my children and I'm supposed to protect them. Besides, I'm not really close to my son anyways. My daughter and I bond a lot. We always have. My son has always been a little spoiled. He's the younger one, you see. He's only 20 right now, and my husband always made sure to spoil both the kids as much as he could. However, it affected my son in a very negative way, because now he felt entitled to having everything that he demanded, even if it was something that we couldn't really give him at the moment. This is exactly why this situation has happened in the first place. My husband had this restaurant that he's been running as a side business for a really long time. More than a decade, actually. We were really proud of the restaurant because it truly was my husband's pride and joy. He worked really hard on it and made sure to hire the best of the best so that the quality of the restaurant would always stay consistent and on top of the charts. It was something that I thought would continue to be a legacy, but during the last 2 to 3 years, my husband's health had gotten really bad. This meant that he had stopped overlooking the restaurant and it was going in decline, and the staff wasn't working properly. The place looked terrible and the food slowly became really bad as well. Even though my husband was weak and tired, he tried his best to keep it afloat because he truly loved the place and didn't want to see it go to waste. Until it failed a food inspection. That was the first time that it happened in over a decade. Like I said, my husband made sure that the place was always on its A game, so there was never a chance that this could even have happened. In fact, this place was rated as one of the top restaurants on the internet as well. So, after the failed inspection, the place started going into a lot of losses, and investigation started on it as well. It had been going on for a year now, even though I thought it would be over by now. Apparently, there were a lot of legal issues involved and a lot more inspections involved to see if the place really needed to be shut down or if it could get better. Honestly, just a few months ago, I was thinking of selling the place because without my husband to take care of it, it was only going downhill. And it was a waste of money at this point. The restaurant was under my name now, so I could do whatever I wanted with it. Selling it seemed like the best option for me at the moment, and I almost went ahead with it until I decided to discuss it with the kids. I thought that they'd be up for it. My daughter Jenny was, well, however, my son Jason wasn't too keen about letting the place go so easily. I have a feeling it's connected to the griefs that he's latching onto after his father's death, but he didn't want me to sell the place. Instead, he wanted me to give it to him, and this was after I told him all of the investigations going on and how the place could barely bring him any profit now, too. For some reason, he was convinced that he could make the place great again and make it a great place to get back to the level that it was when my husband was healthy and happy. I, on the other hand, was not very convinced. I saw zero potential in the place, and I did not want my son to have this kind of burden on him for a place that would never bring him any profit or any benefit. He's also 20, so I thought it would be too hard for him to handle something as big as the restaurant, alongside his college classes. Even though he was doing remote college, he still had a lot of responsibilities to take care of his classes, so I didn't want to add to the stress. That's why I told him that I would not be having this conversation again, and that my final decision was to sell the restaurant and not give it to him, or anyone in the family for that matter. After that, for some reason, my son thought that I could be convinced about this entire thing if he talked to my daughter and then told her to talk to me. But Jenny is a smart girl. She knows what's right and what's wrong, so when Jason went to her and tried to convince her to talk to me, she told him the exact same things that I told him. She told him how there were so many investigations going on, which meant that this was a really bad choice, especially because he wanted to invest so much money into it. She tried explaining to him that he would go bankrupt if he kept being stubborn, but he did not understand. Instead, it turned into a big fight between them as well because I heard screaming coming from the living room, and when I went to go check what was happening, both of them were red-faced and trying to explain to the other that they were right and the other was wrong. After around 2 more days of my son trying to convince me that giving him the restaurant and letting him invest was a good idea, I finally gave up. It was mainly because Jason was starting to get really rude about the entire thing. He would say things that one should not say to their mother or act annoyed the entire day and barely even talk to me. Things like that just really bothered me. I mean, they always have, to be honest. Even when I was a kid. The silent treatment was a big fear of mine because people going radio silent absolutely freaks me out. Jason knew this was my weakness and he used it against me. He made me overthink the entire situation and panic about it so much that in the end, I ended up giving him the restaurant and making him the new owner of the place. The first thing that he did, obviously, was to invest money in it. Even though I'd given him full ownership, I was still his mom, and I was still worried for him, you know? So I decided to give him some advice and told him that it was a bad idea and he should consider backing out before it gets too late. That's when his aggression took over, and he started screaming at me. He told me to mind my damn business and to not teach him because I'm old and apparently have no clue about the younger generation and how the world works now. He said the only reason the restaurant was failing in the first place so badly was because my husband, has gotten old and we didn't know how to take care of the business such as this one. Whereas Jason had claimed that he knew every in and out of the business world and would make the place flourish in no time. So I let him do whatever the heck he wanted. I didn't want to fight anymore because I knew this was going to end up in the same place as it started. We were going in circles, so no matter how hard I tried, he would simply never understand. I thought he had to learn his own lesson, and then he'd come back to his own senses, but he just got worse. Basically what happened was that Jason continued to put time and effort into the place and invested more money in its hopes that it would do better. Even though I told him that it would not do good until the inspections and the investigation stopped. Our public image was also ruined, and he made no effort in fixing it at all. A few months later, he started to get really cranky and annoyed at everything. His mood seemed to be getting worse, which meant that his attitude in the house and towards us was getting bad as well. I tried asking him what was happening, but he never gave me a straight reply and was always super rude about it as well. At one point, I stopped asking him what was bothering him because I didn't want to be disrespected anymore. Apparently, that was the wrong thing to do as well, because then he started blaming me for not caring about him and not paying attention to his life. We had a small little argument about that one day, and I told him that I could not keep asking him what was wrong only for him to either ignore me or disrespect me. That was all it took for him to tell me that the restaurant was doing really badly and he was going through a lot of losses. I tried to be the mature one of the situation, even though I wanted to scream, "Ha! Told you so!" Jenny got that done for me, though. I tried motivating him and telling him that hard work pays off and his efforts will work out as well, but yeah, it was a lie. Jason wasn't working hard at all. He was wasting all the money he had saved by working all his teenage life into a business that was already on its last straw. It was an extremely dumb financial decision, and he wasn't even doing anything to fix it. According to him, if he's putting money into the interior of the restaurant and marketing it on the internet, the business should do really well. However, his marketing strategies were really bad, and he didn't really know how to make the place look more appealing as well. I could have helped him, but I knew he'd start being super rude to me again, so I kept my space from him and advised Jenny to do the same thing as well. Not only that, he wasn't even increasing the salary of the staff. Not to crap on them or anything, but they were working on minimum wage, so it's obvious that they would not put their heart or soul into making the place a better restaurant. The food was, well, crap. The place was still cleaned well enough, and it was most certainly not looking up to one of the top restaurants in the city, not at all. The loss of the restaurant was going through was not really a small loss either. You see, Jason put a lot of money into it, and he lost all of it. In fact, he had to give more money to it because of the investigations and everything that was happening. So he was gaining nothing and losing everything. He was very annoyed by the entire thing as well, and his mood kept fluctuating because he could not believe his decision went so wrong, and now he had lost all the money that he had saved up over the years as well. Obviously, it was going to strike him hard, but there was nothing in particular that I could do about it, and I told him it was a bad idea when he asked me about it, and even after he had gotten mean and selfish, I kept telling him that it was a bad idea, but guys, he didn't listen. Instead, what's making me more mad every day is the fact that he's been blaming me for the entire situation, not even taking into regard the days and weeks of convincing from my side that I did to, stop him from investing so much into the restaurant in the first place. Not just me, Jenny tried too, and yet he told both of us not to poke our nose in his business and let him do what he wants. At first, his anger seemed to be directed at Jenny. He told her that it was her fault as well because she could have helped him take care of the place and make sure that everything was working up to par. Even when Jenny tried explaining that it's because he was wasting a lot of money on things that should have come secondary and not first, he was still blaming her. He kept talking about how if she had told him where to put the money before all this happened, they would have actually made more profit. That's where I stepped in, because I could not handle seeing him act like such a selfish brat who could not accept that he had a mistake and it was his fault. However, instead of helping the situation, I guess I made it worse because Jason started targeting me instead of Jenny as well. He said that I was the one who gave him the restaurant in such a dang bad condition, and as a parent, it was my responsibility to take care of things when my children make mistakes. For the record, I don't think Jenny would have ever made such a dumb decision, especially after I put up a fight for days trying to get my point across that this decision was dumb. Even if Jason was demanding that I pay him back all the money that he's lost, I'm not going to do it. Not because I'm a cruel mom, but because he needs to learn his lesson and understand that everything in life can't happen just because he wants it to happen. Besides, there's one last inspection left of the restaurant that'll determine whether or not the license will be taken away from him or not. Again, I'm not a cruel mother, but I really hope it gets taken away and the restaurant gets shut down forever, so that Jason can get to his senses and just finally stop obsessing over the place when it's never going to bring him any profit. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. Today's story is about to take a wild twist. We have multiple updates, and if you think the restaurant was the worst of the problems, you've seen nothing yet. Guys, if you really want to help support the channel and you do enjoy these stories, all you have to do is subscribe. Take a second, hit that subscribe button underneath this video. I thank you so much for that, and let's just do it. Let's jump into update number 1. So, last week was the inspection of the restaurant. I would feel a bit sad about the outcome if Jason had portrayed it in a way that he had seriously cared about the restaurant and wanted it to succeed. However, after the first few weeks, he had given up and did not seem to care about the place anymore. It felt like the restaurant was just a side hobby for him that he entertained for a few weeks before he got tired of it and did not want it anymore. That's why I was so disappointed with him, because he didn't even want it sincerely in the first place. I knew this was going to happen when he asked me for it. Jason always does this with every single thing in his life. He asks for it, we give it to him, and then he disregards it after a few weeks when he's finally bored of it. I think it's because we used to spoil him as a kid. Even as a teenager, my husband spoiled Jason a lot more than what was appropriate. This is probably why he also has such a massive attitude problem, but I can't keep handling it anymore. He needs to get rid of it, and he needs to do it quickly. Anyways, the update of the last investigation was that his license got canceled and the restaurant was shut down. He tried to put up a fight as well, apparently. That's what he told us, that he tried convincing them to give him one more chance to set it up better. What's shocking to me is that even if they agreed to this one chance thing, his plan was to ask me for money so he could invest more and just focus on other elements of the business. The thing is, he didn't even ask me if he could do this or not, if I would give him the money or not, and he just assumed that I would clean up his mess because I'm his mother, and that's it. But his poor planning is not something that I'm responsible for, not when I tried to warn him against it. Moving on, that's not the only messed up thing he did about the entire situation. He came home and told me that his license was canceled and then asked me to pay him all the losses that he had to go through because of this. This meant thousands of dollars that he had wasted. He was putting the burden on my shoulders now and was telling me that I need to make sure that he got the money back. Obviously, I said no, but that caused a fight again about the exact same issue. But I still don't get why he wants me to pay for his mistakes. He's never even treated me with respect before, and now when he desperately needs me to help him, he still isn't showing any signs of respect. Anyways, I told him that I would not be indulging him anymore, and he threatened to not talk to me anymore if I did not, quote, pay him back, and got him out of this mess. I agreed to not speak to him anymore, but honestly, he's so deep into this mess, he needs me. So he's going to talk to me about this, I know it. Update number 2. He did talk to me after all that, and what did I tell you guys? He's far too deep in this mess and he needs me. There was no way he was going to stop communicating with me. Even though he's 20, he still depends on me for most of the things in his life, including his expenses. He doesn't do a job anymore because he quit the last one for reasons that I still don't know. And when I tell him to go find another job, he says he's not in the mood to work and doesn't want to bound himself to a contract. Jenny, on the other hand, is so mature and sweet and smart. She helps me in the house as well because there's so many things that my husband and I used to take care of at the same time. And now that he's gone, I can only handle so many things at once. Anyways, yesterday morning, Jason came up to me and demanded that if I can't help him get the money back, then I should give him the farmhouse that my husband left before as well. It was a big, spacious farmhouse that we usually rented out to people, so they could come spend the night there and enjoy some time in nature. Sometimes we also stop by there and spend a day or two just to relax and unwind. It's a good property and it brings us good amount of profit as well. However, I know that if I give Jason it, he's going to find some way to mess it up and make it go into loss as well. Besides, I heard him say once that he wanted the farmhouse so he and his friends could party there all the time, with no consequences or money involved. I know he's going to do the right now as well if I give him the place, so there's no way that I'm risking it. He got really upset by this fact and told me that I need to give it to him because it was going well, and that meant that he was going to make it up really as well. However, there was no guarantee that it was going to do well under his control, and I don't want to just let go of something that's bringing me so much profit just because my spoiled, rotten son wants me to give it to him. It's not even the fact that he's going to mess up the entire thing and make it go into a loss. It's the fact that he doesn't accept it, and when he makes mistakes, he wants other people to clean up the mess for him. He had so many fights with both of us because we tried helping him and he told us to stay away from his business and not to interrupt because he knew what he was doing. Later, we fought because he didn't know what he was doing and was expecting us to clean up after him and also give him back everything that he lost because of it. Now, obviously, there's qualities that you can't possess if you're investing or trying out new things, so there was no way that I was going to be giving him the farmhouse. I'd say the thing that just really made him angry was that I gave the farmhouse to Jenny. Jenny is a very strong, independent woman who knows how to handle things like this, and I trust her to know how to continue bringing in profits. It's a smart decision and one that I was very proud of as. I even tried explaining to Jason that the decision was very easy, because with how much money he invested, he could have improved the conditions of the restaurant as well, but you know what? He didn't. Instead, he focused on things that simply did not matter. And not only did he lose all the money that he invested, he also lost the entire restaurant. Why would I hand over my perfectly good farmhouse to someone like that, even if he was my son? Anyways, he gets really upset at this point and said some very mean things to me. He called me old and a burden, because now I wasn't letting anyone do what they wanted in the house and I was making everyone miserable. It really hurt to hear these things from my own boy, but there was nothing that I could do about it. Besides, Jenny took my side and told him off for acting like a spoiled brat who doesn't respect other people's feelings and actions. Anyways, Jason does some very weird crap when he's mad or upset, so I'm a bit scared about what's coming next, because he's very mad about the entire situation. Update number 3. Jason is so mad at both of us. He hasn't been talking to me at all, and those lines etched on my face, they're not just wrinkles, they're the roadmap of navigating a son who's more tempest than a toddler these days. Jason went to Jenny and tried to terrorize her into giving him the farmhouse. He said she did not deserve it because she's a woman, and women just don't know how to handle business or do real-world issues. Not just that, he also said some very misogynistic things that were just too wild to repeat. I didn't hear them argue about it because I was at work while the showdown was going down, but when I got home, I heard the door to their room slamming with a loud bang as Jenny came rushing downstairs face red with anger. I knew that moment I saw her face that Jason did something that was unforgivable because Jenny is not one to get so riled up. Usually she is very calm demeanor, collected, front, and even when Jason does all this drama, she stays in her cool, calm, collect head and does not let it get out of control. So for her to come rushing down those stairs looking like she was about to slap someone was a shock. She told me what happened, and I immediately rushed to Jason's room to give him a piece of my mind. No matter how disappointed you are with any outcome, you never treat other people this way, especially not when these people are your own blood. I took a deep breath and tried to keep my utmost calm, but it felt like I was in a tornado of emotions. Our house was once full of laughter and smells of home-cooked meals turned into a war zone. And for what? I still can't wrap my head around it. It seems so ridiculous that we're going through this. For a while, I thought maybe I was a bad mom. This sort of thing never happened when my husband was alive, and we were such a happy family. He knew how to keep everyone together and happy, so why can't I do the same? Ever since he's been gone, our family has been so haywire. Jason doesn't even feel like my son anymore. It feels like he doesn't even like me or want me around, and I talked to Jenny about this once as well, and I didn't want to let my own daughter know about my troubles, but it slipped into a conversation, and Jenny is very good at interrogating people as well. However, she told me that I was a great mother, and she was extremely happy with me. Jason was just spoiled and did not appreciate me enough. According to her, the only reason that Dad was able to handle him was because Dad scared him, that's all. Anyways, as we were having the conversation, the door to Jason's room slammed open, and he walked full speed to me like he was on a mission. I guess he was, but it wasn't the usual, "Hey Mom, good morning." No, it was full-on verbal hurricane, cursing, yelling, the whole experience. It was like a storm hit out of nowhere, and he was being so loud that we were honestly shocked. Apparently, he came to threaten us, that he was going to take control of the house by putting me in an old age home and kicking Jenny out. Obviously, this could not happen because the house was under my name, and I'm still alive. But he didn't listen to a single word I said. He just kept screaming, so I told him that he needed to shut up or he was going to get verbally hit by me. That shocked him so much that he actually stopped speaking for a moment, and I used it to go to my room and lock myself in, hoping for some kind of peace and quiet in the house. Update number 4. Jason has gone wild. I'm telling you guys, wild. I find myself compelled to provide an update on a recent familial development that's proven to be both challenging and, well, instructive. As I previously mentioned, my son Jason got really aggressive and wild with me and my daughter, threatening to kick us out of the house just because we didn't let him have the farmhouse. My daughter and I sat with Jason to offer an ultimatum in an attempt to handle the matter peacefully. He had two options: a serious and well-considered apology paired with a promise to change his behavior, or immediately leave our family home. We were very set on our decision because we knew that there's no way that we could let him treat us like this with no consequences. He needed to know that this is not what the real world is like. And 20 years of age, he needs to handle a bit of responsibility. Jason pride is way too high for a better chance. Unfortunately, Jason's reaction revealed a genuine sense of pride that proved irresistible. He chose to leave and claimed that he wanted, well, nor did he need any family relationships because all we ever did was ruin his life. Of course, I was a bit hurt by that, because I expected him to apologize like a normal human being, but of course, he was way too spoiled. A week later, Jason came with a request that was, to say the least, unexpected, but also very expected. I knew he would not be able to live without us and actually struggle for the things that he wanted, but I did not think that he would give up so soon. I thought his pride was large, bigger than that. Then I found out that his pride was actually bigger than that because he didn't come home to apologize. Rather than seeking reconciliation or showing regret, he asked us for financial aid. Well, my clear reaction was a big old fat no. Our family dynamic was already ruined, and I would not let him ruin it even more just because he wants money. I've told him that unless I can see that he's helping us out, doing chores, not being ungrateful, and all the above, I will not support him financially. Yes, I'm going to let him stay at the house, but I had very specific conditions. My main condition was this: an apology, very sincerely, but not just to me, but to my daughter and his sister Ginny as well. He hurt her as much as he hurt me, and he agreed to it, so let's see how much he actually keeps it. Anyways, that's all for now. Thank you for listening.
Well, it looks like this no-good-for-nothing son finally is starting to learn the value of a hard lesson. Yes, OP's mom still allowed him to come back to the house with certain conditions which involve apologies to both him and, well, his sister. But either way, I want to know from you guys if you agree or disagree with the fact that OP let her son come back into the house. I would love to know your opinion on that, guys, so do drop it down below in the comment section. If you guys are new to the channel, I want to welcome you and just say I hope you enjoyed today's story because there's plenty more to come. I drop a new story every single day. You can check out my favorite stories in the playlist below, as also you can see my other channels. Guys, have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow. And of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.